In an unprecedented display of precision and boldness, Ukraine has shattered the long-standing assumptions about Russia's Shadow fleet. Imagine a ship, built in 2006, navigating the quiet waters of the Mediterranean, suddenly turned into a target hundreds of miles from any coast. How is this possible? Who could have launched such a daring attack in the open sea? This is a story about a dramatic turn in modern warfare, an operation that defies expectations and changes everything. For the first time, a Russian oil tanker operating far from Ukrainian borders has fallen victim to Ukrainian strike capabilities. The vessel, known as Kendall II, was sailing in neutral waters, seemingly on a routine journey, until it was hit with force so precise that it was disabled beyond repair. And the real shock? The attack happened over 2,000 kilometers away from Ukraine's shores. How did they manage that? How could a country with a modest navy pull off a strike so far out at sea? Ukraine's intelligence agency, the Security Service of Ukraine, SSU, orchestrated this monumental operation. They used a combination of drone technology, specifically hexacopters, that possibly originated from nearby territory or from covert vessels. The details are staggering. Reports indicate multiple drones with explosive payloads were dispatched, some flying from short distances and others launched from surprise vessels lurking nearby. Footage shows the moment a drone camera captures the explosion as it erupts on the tanker's surface, fire, smoke, and a flash of the unexpected in the vast, silent Mediterranean. The Kendall II had been sailing between Malta and Crete late at night when it suddenly made a suspicious turn eastward, heading toward Egypt's port Said. Its journey had begun in Novorossiysk port, went through the Bosporus Strait, through the Suez Canal, and arrived in India to unload cargo. Just days later, it was sailing back, until it suddenly veered off course. Was it about to be caught? Or was it lured into a trap? The ship was flagged under Oman's banner but was sanctioned by the European Union and the UK, indicating its ties to Russia's covert operations. Shadow fleets often cloak their ships behind flags of friendly nations, making detection even harder for authorities. What's most astonishing is the method, a precision strike from drones likely operated from a vessel or drone base nearby, certainly not from Ukraine's shores. This raises questions about how Ukraine achieved such range and accuracy. Are seaborne drones behind this? Or perhaps a new, secret tactic involving small ships deploying long-range drones unseen by enemy defenses? The evidence suggests that Ukraine is pushing the limits of its technology, daring to strike beyond the traditional battlefield, risking everything. And what about legality? Many experts argue that targeting a vessel in international waters, especially one engaged in sanctions evasion, is justified. Ukrainian officials suggest the ship was transporting illicit resources, funds that fuel Russia's war efforts. They claim the vessel was empty at the time of attack, reducing environmental risks and aligning with international law. Still, questions remain. Did Ukraine cross a line? Or is this a new normal in modern asymmetric conflict? The international community is watching, but Ukraine's message is clear: no ship hiding behind political veils is safe anymore. This strike marks a turning point, an escalation not just in capability, but in the very nature of maritime conflicts. It's a warning to all shadow ships plying the oceans: you are no longer untouchable. As Russia's illicit fleet faces increasing threats, a new chapter unfolds, one where shadows are exposed, and no vessel is beyond reach. The question now is, how far will Ukraine go next? What's the next target in this high-stakes game? One thing is certain, this story is just beginning. After the dramatic attack, questions flood the mind. How did Ukraine strike a vessel so far out at sea? Over 1,200 miles away from its shores? Usually, such hits happen within reach of drone wings or submarine-launched missiles. But this? It defies common logic. The silence of the Mediterranean Sea, disturbed only by distant waves and the faint hum of engines, makes this even more shocking. The key to this mystery lies not in traditional methods. Instead, evidence points toward advanced aerial drones, tiny, powerful, and versatile. These hexacopters, launched from a close enough distance, could have silently taken out the target without arousing suspicion. Could Ukrainian agents have sailed a small boat nearby? Perhaps slipped past unnoticed, deploying a drone that infiltrated the shadows of international waters? Imagine the tension on that small vessel, feeling the salted air and sticky decks, as they got close enough to launch their secret weapon. A whisper of wind, a distant splash, then the quiet liftoff of a drone, shimmering faintly as it soared towards its target. In mere moments, it struck. The explosion rocked the tanker, spraying flames and smoke into the dark sea. Witnesses watched as the ship shuddered under the assault, its hull buckling from the relentless attack. This level of precision over such a distance suggests Ukraine's capabilities are evolving fast. Could they have had support from allies in this daring strike? Most likely, yes. The attack's sophistication hints at pre-placed intelligence, real-time surveillance, and a strategy designed to keep the enemy guessing. How many more ships are vulnerable? How far can Ukraine push this new frontier of maritime warfare? But the story doesn't end here. The ship's strange U-turn, heading towards Egypt, then suddenly veering back, raises more questions. Was it trying to escape, or was it a calculated move to throw off tracking efforts? The shadows of global diplomacy darken the waters. Western nations accused the vessel of being part of Russia's illicit fleet, sailing under flags of convenience, Oman, of all places, masking its true origins. Russia's tactics are clear: hide ships behind false flags, sail through international waters, and evade sanctions with expert precision. Over the first 9 months of this year alone, such deception happened 113 times. Each vessel a ghost, slipping through the cracks of global oversight. The Kendall II, built in 2006, was just one of many caught in this web of secrecy. But Ukraine's strike sets a new precedent. A ship in international waters, over 1,000 miles from home, taken out with pinpoint accuracy. How? The most plausible answer is the use of short-range drones, launched from a neighboring nation or directly from a stealth vessel, flying under the radar. Perhaps from a small boat, inching ever closer to the shadow fleet before unleashing chaos. The video footage shows a drone soaring above the ship, capturing the moment of impact. Explosions erupt like fireworks in the dead of night. Sensors pick up the shockwaves, the crackling of metal, the scent of burnt fuel, the raw power of technology and tactics colliding in a deadly dance. Witnesses are stunned, the enemy is under siege from forces they never saw coming. This daring attack isn't just about one vessel. It's a message. Ukraine is pushing the boundaries of modern warfare, striking at the very heart of Russia's covert operations. No longer confined by borders, the conflict now spills into the high seas, into the unseen depths of international law. Is this just the beginning of a new chapter? Or will the Shadow Fleet's secrets finally be laid bare? As the world watches, one thing is clear: Ukraine's ability to strike across vast distances is transforming the battlefield. The Shadow Fleet's days of impunity seem numbered. The question remains: how many more ships will fall before the silent war reaches its final act? Recent developments reveal that Ukraine has achieved what many considered impossible, striking a Russian Shadow Fleet tanker over 1,200 miles away in international waters. How could they pull off such a precise and daring attack? The answer isn't just simple drone warfare. The most probable explanation points to a sophisticated use of aerial drones, specifically small hexacopters launched from a short distance, rather than the larger seaborne models Ukraine has relied on before. But how exactly did they do it? Were these drones launched from a neighboring country, crossing vast Mediterranean waters, or did Ukrainian agents deploy a small vessel close enough to the target? The answer remains uncertain, yet the results are undeniable. The strike left the tanker fully disabled, a wreck amid the waves, signifying a meticulously planned operation. On December 19, Ukraine's Security Service of Ukraine, known as SBU, released a compelling video on its official channel. It shows a drone capturing the moment it approaches its target. Lasting about 35 seconds, the footage offers a rare glimpse from the drone's point of view. Although the launch point and duration at sea remain mysteries, what is clear is the identification of the target, the Kendall-2. What's even more shocking is that the footage isn't from the drone used to strike the ship. Instead, another drone, likely a hexacopter, is shown hovering above the tanker, capturing the explosion as it erupts with fierce intensity. Multiple angles reveal several drones circling, some filming from on board the ship itself, providing an astonishing drone's eye view. It becomes obvious, Ukraine didn't merely hit the Kendall-2 once. They struck repeatedly, relentlessly, ensuring total destruction of its ability to sail. The damage inflicted was catastrophic, leaving no doubt about Ukraine's advanced long-range capabilities. But such an audacious assault raises pressing questions. Was this strike legal? Is the Kendall-2 a legitimate military target? And morally, was it right to attack a vessel that was likely empty, sailing in international waters? The debate is intense, with some arguing it's a justified act of war against a vessel used to bypass sanctions and fund aggression. Others worry about potential risks. Could this set a dangerous precedent? And yet, the story doesn't end here. Just as the dust begins to settle, new reports hint at even bolder plans. In fact, evidence suggests Ukraine might be perfecting a new cell of covert operations. Were these drones launched from nearby coastlines or perhaps even by small vessels sailing just close enough? The suspense thickens. Because if Ukraine managed this, what's stopping them from striking further, possibly at targets even deeper in enemy territory? The entire notion of safe zones is crumbling. As these secrets unfold, the real question remains, how far will Ukraine go in this new form of warfare? And what surprises still lurk beneath the surface of this unseen conflict? In the first moments of the attack, Ukraine's daring assault seemed almost unbelievable. A ship hundreds of miles away in international waters suddenly rendered useless overnight. It was a shocking display of precision and boldness. But what truly turns this story on its head is the question of legality. Did Ukraine cross a line that could ignite a new global conflict? The ship, called Kendall-2, was sailing in neutral waters, yet Ukraine struck with brutal force, but why? The answer lies in an unspoken truth: this tanker was part of Russia's shadow fleet, evading sanctions to fund the war effort. A secret source inside Ukraine's security agency revealed that, from the standpoint of international laws, this strike was justified. Ukraine was targeting a vessel knowingly used to bypass sanctions and funnel money into war. The ship had departed Indian ports after unloading cargo there, its journey shrouded in secrecy. It had just exited India's Yamnago port on December 1st, after a lengthy voyage from Novorossiysk through the Bosporus and Suez Canal, mystery still surrounding its true destination. But here's the twist: how could Ukraine hit a target so far away? The most startling detail is the drone used, a small, nimble aerial device launched outside Ukrainian borders, possibly from a nearby vessel or even a friendly nation's territory. Was this a drone launched from a ship in the Mediterranean? Or from a clandestine relay station? The persistent sound of distant engines, the buzz of blades overhead, these are the faint clues. The strike's success hints at an unprecedented level of coordination and daring. Now, consider the aftermath. The attack was executed with sophistication, multiple drones swooping down at once, explosions ripping through the ship's side. A 35-second video emerged, purportedly showing the moment of impact, from a drone's perspective. From above, viewers watch a sleek vessel suddenly engulfed in flames, the dark hull buckling as the drone's payload hits with devastating accuracy. It's a terrifying display of technological prowess, precision violence on international waters. But questions about morality linger. Was it right to strike a ship that might have been loaded with oil? Ukraine's source assures that the Kendall-2 was empty at the time of destruction. No pollution risk, no disaster, just a calculated message. The ship, after unloading in India, maneuvered under the Omani flag, cloaking its true origin. Like many shadow vessels, it flies a foreign flag to hide its ties to Moscow. Russia's tactic of using flags of convenience for illicit cargo is no secret, it's an established strategy. In the first 9 months of 2025 alone, Russia employed flags of different nations to hide 113 ships, Kendall-2 among them. This raises a provocative question: what limits remain if Ukraine can strike at such a distance? The answer is chilling. The drone, launched from an uncertain launch pad, traveled over 1,200 miles in hostile waters, striking a target protected by complex layers of deception. The use of a coastal drone or a small vessel with a drone payload signifies a new warfront, where the battlefield extends into international waters and the rules are rewritten. The legal justification hinges on one thing: the ship's role in sustaining the war machine. A behind-the-scenes explanation from Ukraine states that as the Kendall II was unloaded and empty, the risk of environmental catastrophe was minimal. No oil spill, no disaster, only a powerful message. A covert Indian intelligence unit reportedly confirmed the ship's empty status, giving Ukraine the green light to act. The implications are game-changing. Security analysts warn that this attack signals a new escalation, not just in capability, but in geography. No longer are safe zones for sanctioned vessels just beyond reach. When ships like Kendall II return to Russian ports, they will do so under the cloud of potential surprise strikes, an invisible threat that can strike anywhere. These vessels can no longer operate in safety, nor can they hide behind flags and blind spots. This story is far from over. Ukraine's daring move could set a precedent, one where distant, shadowy vessels are no longer immune. As the pieces fall into place, the question remains: how far will Moscow go to protect its illicit fleet? And how much longer can international waters be safe havens when a small drone can strike with such lethal precision? The stakes have never been higher. Ukraine has exposed vulnerabilities in Russia's shadowy maritime empire, risks expanding to vast territories. The strike on the Kendall II tanker wasn't isolated. Ukraine's forces struck a shadow fleet vessel in the Mediterranean, over 1,200 miles from home. Leaders in Moscow must be reeling from this audacious move. Can Russia's illicit fleets ever sail safely again? This shocking fact spans Ukraine's reach far beyond borders, humiliating Putin's naval illusions. Witness a memory flashing back: the acrid smell of burning oil lingers in the air, mingling with salty sea breeze. Rough waves crash against the hull, vibrations trembling underfoot. Screams echo as alarms blare, a stark reminder of past defeats at Ukraine's hands. Military experts warn this changes everything. Russia faces global exposure now. Commercial vessels tied to energy supplies could face threats far from battlefields. Sources confirm Ukraine launched drones from nearby boats, short-range and deadly. Has Russia underestimated this foe yet again? What hidden dangers lurk when tankers return to home shores? Ukraine pins Russia down, barrel-like, with no escape in sight. What's more, this isn't new territory for Ukraine. They've hit shadow fleets before, but this Mediterranean hit is groundbreaking. SBU's first in international waters. Yet, assume that's all Ukraine achieved lately at sea, you'd be wrong. Massive planning for the Kendall II strike diverted resources, but they had bigger plans. On December 20, Ukrainian Special Operations Forces activated. As SBU drones devastated the tanker, SSO drones struck elsewhere. In the Caspian Sea, tensions boiled over. Outdated patrol boats rocked from impacts, metal groaning like anguished cries. Sparks fly, clashing with brackish water scent. Is Russia ready for such onslaught? Their energy pillars crumble under these relentless blows. How will Putin declare victory now? An unexpected turn exposes more cracks in their armor. SSO forces just targeted an oil platform and a Russian patrol ship, dismantling infrastructure piece by piece. The patrol ship, a vital piece, now lies disabled. Can international waters offer refuge? What if Ukraine escalates further? The war's evolution feels unstoppable, and Russia's responses grow desperate, leaving you on edge. What forbidden moves might Ukraine unveil next? Stay tuned for twists that redefine boundaries. In recent weeks, Ukraine has launched a series of daring attacks that are shaking Russia's energy empire to its core. The sounds of detonations and the rush of rushing waves reveal a deeper story, one of resilience, cunning, and relentless defiance. Can this small nation truly cripple a behemoth like Russia's energy machinery? The answer is becoming increasingly clear, and the stakes are higher than ever. Ukraine's Special Operations Forces, a secret group operating in the shadows, are executing strikes that push the boundaries of conventional warfare. While the world watches from the sidelines, these forces are hitting Russia where it hurts, far beyond reach, across international waters. Recently, these elite units carried out a bold operation in the Caspian Sea that left Russian infrastructure reeling. How did they manage to strike vital targets in such a remote region? The sounds of engines and the hum of drones filled the air as they stormed an oil platform and a Russian patrol vessel, intensifying a covert campaign against Moscow's vital energy assets. One of the most striking achievements was targeting a patrol ship classified as a Project 2246-0 Hunter, a vessel tasked with patrolling Russia's Caspian Sea borders. This ship, a typical Coast Guard vessel that can engage threats depending on its fitting, fell victim to a well-orchestrated attack on December 19. The Russian vessel, meant to safeguard the energy routes, was caught unprepared as Ukrainian drones struck decisively. The deafening explosions echoed across the sea, silencing any hope of protection. In the aftermath, the vessel was left disabled, a casualty of precision strikes that proved the limits of Moscow's defenses. But the assault didn't stop there. SSO units didn't just aim at ships, they targeted the backbone of Russia's energy wealth. Through social media, the Ukrainian forces proudly announced the destruction of a key oil drilling platform in the Caspian Sea. This was no accidental strike, this was a calculated blow aimed directly at the operations of Lukoil, one of the world's giants in the energy industry and Russia's second-largest oil producer. The platform, perched above reserves estimated at 129 million tons of oil and an additional 30 billion cubic meters of natural gas, was a jewel in Moscow's crown of wealth. As the drone struck swiftly and silently, metal groaned and oil spilled into the sea, threatening to shut down a vital artery of Russia's economy. The attack caused shockwaves across the global energy landscape. The sounds of machinery and ocean waves combined with the telltale crackle of explosions as the Ukrainian forces claimed another victory. The operators explained their actions as a strategic move to weaken Russia's financial and military capabilities. They believe that disrupting these key assets will diminish Moscow's ability to sustain its war effort, creating openings for future pressure. Their message is clear: no part of Russia's energy empire is off-limits, especially when it sustains the war effort. The importance of the Caspian oil rigs extends beyond mere economics. For Russia, these platforms are vital, fueling the Kremlin's strategic ambitions and funding its military campaigns. Sinking these assets isn't just about halting oil flows, it's about striking at the heart of Moscow's power and influence. Ukrainian forces have shown they are willing to go to extreme lengths, armed with advanced drones and unwavering resolve. How long can Russia rely on its vast energy reserves when they become targets for a nation fighting for its survival? The echoes of explosions fade, but the message remains loud and clear: Ukraine will not back down, and its new asymmetric tactics could reshape the conflict forever. As Ukrainian forces continue their covert campaign, the world is left asking, what's next? With each strike, Moscow's energy empire strains under the pressure of unseen adversaries. The quiet hum of drones and the distant rumbles of explosions tell a story of a new kind of warfare, one fought not just with soldiers, but with innovation, daring, and a fearless will to prevail. Could Ukraine's covert operations finally turn the tide of this long and grueling conflict? Only time will reveal the full extent of what these small, stealthy units can achieve in their fight against a superpower. Imagine the vast Caspian Sea, where colossal oil rigs rise like silent giants, pumping wealth into Russia's war machine. That's the heart of their energy empire, fueling domestic needs and global exports, letting the Kremlin rake in huge taxes from these profits. Their importance can't be overstated. Now, picture Ukraine's bold raids that threaten to silence these economic powerhouses forever. But amid the thunder of explosions and the acrid stench of burning fuel, a shocking twist emerges. Ukraine's drone strikes on Russia's Caspian rigs aren't just isolated hits, they're part of a relentless, months-long hunt against the Shadow Fleet. These aren't accidents, they're calculated blows that humiliate Moscow's elite, exposing how vulnerable their black market tankers really are. Can you feel the salt spray on your skin as waves crash against these rigs deep in international waters? Hear the low rumble of machinery grinding to a halt? Smell the sharp tang of diesel mixing with sea air? Rhetorical questions echo louder than the blasts themselves. What happens when an entire nation's economy is strangled by remote strikes from a determined underdog? Dive deeper into this economic battlefield. These rigs, towering like steel beasts over the shimmering Caspian, deliver fortune straight to the Kremlin's coffers. Take Lukoil, the operator of the targeted rig. That company's 2024 net profit soared to a staggering $10.1 billion, with revenue hitting $102.1 billion. Yet, profits dipped 26% lower than in 2023, despite that revenue bump. Why this paradox? A fierce tax reassessment by Russia sucked more from the pot, as explained by the Moscow Times. These Caspian structures are the lifeblood of Russia's energy dominance. Without the crude they yield, Putin loses saleable reserves and refinery output for gasoline, diesel, and essentials aiding troops. In 2024, Ukraine's strikes have been relentless, capping a year of attacks with explosive finales. And December 19 marked the fourth drone assault on Caspian energy targets, all claimed as war-sustaining by Ukraine. Remember that chaotic night of the first strike? Over 300 drones swarmed, overwhelming air defenses in a blueprint for future carnage. Our prior video dissects that mayhem. Watch it to uncover how it paved the path for these escalating offensives. As mesmerizing as this Caspian escalation feels, the Kendal 2 tanker incident steals the spotlight in a way that flips the war's geography on its head. But here's the jaw-dropping revelation: Ukraine's reach extends far beyond borders, proving no black market ship sails unnoticed. Shockingly, have Russia's oligarchs ever feared losing their gilded yachts in the Med? The humiliation grows. Putin's untouchable fleet now burns, sinking dreams of impunity. What defensive cracks will this exploit next? In the aftermath of Ukraine's daring drone assault on Russia's air defenses using 300 unmanned aircraft, a plan that laid the groundwork for every Caspian Sea attack thereafter, the Kendal 2 incident steals the thunder with its sheer audacity. Imagine the shock rippling through Putin's inner circle. Ost tanker, once untouchable in distant waters, suddenly ablaze under a hail of unseen blows. What if Russia's shadow fleet, the backbone of its illicit oil empire, is no longer invincible? Picture the acrid smoke from missiles chewing into hulls, the metallic tang of seawater flooding holds, the thud of explosions echoing across the Mediterranean like a harbinger of doom. Yet, this wasn't Ukraine's first taste of targeting Russia's illicit vessels. No, this campaign against the Shadow Fleet has raged for months, a relentless siege that's only intensifying to choke another vital lifeline for Moscow's war machine. To grasp the strike's true weight, dive deeper into the Shadow Fleet's dark heart. We've skimmed the surface. These are vessels Vladimir Putin amasses to dodge sanctions, cloaked in false flags from distant nations. But why does Ukraine brand them military prey, ripe for destruction? Forbes sheds light in its coverage of the Kendal 2 operation. David Kurchenko uncovers the staggering scale. This fleet hauls an eye-watering 3.7 million barrels of oil daily. That's roughly 65% of Russia's ocean-transported crude. It's the lifeblood pouring black gold profits into Kremlin coffers. Valued between $87 billion and $100 billion annually per the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Tax revenue that fuels aggression. How does it feel to know Ukraine views this as a golden chance, to cripple as many of these rogue ships as possible, humiliating Russia on the high seas? With the Mediterranean onslaught, they've unleashed global reach, striking far beyond home borders in a debut expansion. What defenses can Russia muster when its fortunes ride on vulnerable cargo? The sting is sharper because they've broadened assault lines, targeting oil refineries since early 2025. For 6 months now, Ukrainian forces have pummeled those processing hubs hard. The crackle of flames engulfing tanks, the sharp bite of fuel vapor in the air, choking production for Russia's own needs and sales. Now, veering from refineries to shadow ships in international zones and even oil rigs, It's a march to euthanize Russia's lucrative oil vein entirely. But here's the agonizing twist: as Ukraine scales up, how long until Russia retaliates mercilessly, exposing the fragility of this embargo-busting empire? Throughout 2025, the pressure mounts, leaving those phantom tankers nowhere to hide. Emerging from the shadows of international waters, a new chapter of warfare has begun, one that no one saw coming. Imagine the sound of waves crashing against a sleek oil tanker, rumbling engines, and the scent of salt in the air. Suddenly, a calculated explosion erupts, severing the vessel's ability to sail. How did Ukraine pull off such a daring strike across thousands of miles? Previously, Russia believed its secret fleet of oil tankers was untouchable. They assumed that international waters offered a fortress, safe from attack, shielded from prying eyes. These vessels, often cloaked under flags of obscure nations, moved covertly, their cargo fueling Moscow's war machine. But times have changed, the game is evolving faster than anyone could have predicted. Ukraine's strategy shifted dramatically. After targeting key oil refineries and port facilities, their focus expanded to include the very shadows in the open sea. The country's forces struck down more Shadow Fleet vessels than ever before. Just days prior to the last major hit, reports emerged of an attack on the Valery Gotchakov in Russia's Rostov region, a tanker believed to be part of Moscow's clandestine shipping network. Multiple ships, like the Turkish-flagged Kairos and Berat, also became targets along the Black Sea coast last November. This isn't incidental. Ukraine is actively amplifying its reach, targeting any vessel that underpins Russia's illicit energy trade. Estimates suggest there could be up to 1,200 ships operating within this shadow fleet. Destroying a small fraction doesn't cripple Russia's shipping, but it turns safe waters into minefields. Every voyage becomes a gamble. Ships may vanish under the cover of night, or explode without warning, something Ukrainian drones are making possible. Could it be drones? Certainly, but this isn't just about flying tiny aircraft across the sea. It's about precision strikes from vessels near the coast, launching short-range drones that can slip into the shadows. Some believe the Ukrainian forces may have sent these drones from nearby countries, dangerously close, yet far enough to strike precisely. And the visuals? Catch a glimpse of the moment a drone's eye view reveals an explosion, fire consuming a vessel in the Mediterranean. Several drones, flying from different angles, unleash their fury. The footage shows the ships battered from multiple directions, some drones even capturing shots from on deck, the air thick with the scent of burnt oil and the visual chaos of cascading flames. It's a battlefield that's shifting with every strike. But what about legality? Isn't attacking a ship at sea a violation? Ukraine sources argue differently. They claim they targeted ships engaged in circumventing sanctions, crucial to funding the war effort. This is no random act of warfare, it's a calculated move against violations of international law. The ship targeted was reportedly empty, cargo unloaded in India weeks earlier, so the risk of environmental disaster was minimal. The strategic gain? A message to those who think the Shadow Fleet is untouchable. The implications are staggering. With each successful strike, Ukraine's reach grows, pushing Russia's vessels into the open. Ships sailing from India or China now face a looming threat, hidden, silent, deadly. The shadows are no longer safe. Moscow's fleet, once confident in its secrecy, now lives under a cloud of uncertainty. And Vladimir Putin's response? Pressure mounts. Russia depends heavily on this shadow fleet. Without it, its oil exports falter, and its war efforts weaken. Yet, defending these vessels remains complicated. Warships won't escort every tanker, only inviting diplomatic nightmares. Instead, they face blackouts, delays, and the constant threat of Ukraine's unseen weapons. This isn't just about a single tanker anymore. It's about the future of global energy flows, the boundaries of modern warfare, and the resilience of a nation fighting without conventional armies. Every strike is a statement, every shadow vessel a target. Ukraine's new strategy has turned the open sea into a battlefield, one where no ship can sail safely. The question echoes louder than ever, how long until the entire shadow fleet is exposed? And what will Russia do to protect its underground empire of oil? The war is no longer confined to borders, it's fought in the unseen depths of international waters, with Ukraine leading the charge into a new era of maritime conflict. The conflict is escalating faster than anyone predicted. Russia's shadow fleet, a fleet of covert oil tankers avoiding sanctions, is a crucial asset, generating up to $100 billion annually for the Kremlin. Ukraine has now shattered Russia's assumptions, hitting vessels in international waters miles from home. What's the secret behind Ukraine's precision strikes? Could they really cripple the entire shadow fleet? In a daring maneuver, Ukraine struck the Russian tanker Kendall II in the Mediterranean, over 1,200 miles from its borders. This was no accidental hit. The ship had just left India after unloading, sailing under a fake flag, ripe with suspicion. As the explosion erupted mid-sea, the waters echoed with violent energy. How did Ukraine pinpoint a ship so far away? Was it sea-based drones, or did they deploy something even more extraordinary? The answer may shock you. Before the attack, many believed that Russian ships could cruise safely across international waters. Yet, that illusion shattered on December 19. A massive explosion disabled Kendall II forever. Witnesses report several drones attacking from unseen angles, with footage revealing a bird's-eye view of the chaos. Multiple strikes, powerful enough to sink the biggest ships, turned the Mediterranean into a battlefield for covert warfare. What has Ukraine achieved with this unprecedented strike? Is this the beginning of a global maritime campaign? The implications are staggering. Ukraine's attack has made international shipping dangerous and unpredictable. Ships like Kendall II, essential for funding Russia's war efforts, could be targeted anywhere, anytime. Russia's attempt to hide its vessels behind flags of foreign nations is no longer enough. Ukraine's new tactic of deploying short-range drones from nearby vessels or land has turned open waters into a minefield. How many more shadow vessels will fall before Russia retaliates? Or will Putin be forced into silence? And the twists don't end there. Just days before Ukraine struck Kendall II, another covert operation unfolded. Ukrainian special forces launched a daring attack on a shadow vessel called Valery Gotchakov near Rostov, disrupting Russia's illicit supply chain further. These continuous strikes aren't isolated. They're part of a broader campaign to choke Russia's energy exports and weaken its war machine from within. Yet, Russia's response remains weak. Despite efforts to shield ships with armed personnel, the truth is, their defenses are insufficient against Ukraine's advanced drones. The question lingers, will Putin risk openly confronting Ukraine's growing maritime capabilities? Or is he resigned to losing his shadow fleet one vessel at a time? Every strike exposes the vulnerability of Russian strategy, and the world watches as Ukraine's bold tactics redefine the rules of engagement at sea. The final act is near. Recent attacks within Russia's borders, targeting refineries and infrastructure, reveal Ukraine's expanding reach. Their campaign is no longer limited to land or coastlines. They are striking at the very heart of Russia's war economy, a move that could change the balance of power completely. Could Ukraine's relentless pursuit of the shadow fleet signal the beginning of the end for Russia's covert energy empire? Or is this merely a warning of what's to come? In the end, the shocking truth looms large: Ukraine isn't just fighting back, they're rewriting the entire game. Every ship, every strike, pushes Russia closer to chaos. The shadow of the fleet is now a target. The question remains, how far will Ukraine go? The answer may shock the world, because this war is far from over.